Welcome to Autism Knows No Borders, a podcast where people connected to autism inspire change and build community. Together with the Global Autism Project, I'm your host, Rachel Harmon, a professional with over a decade of experience in the field of autism services, outreach, and advocacy. How does having a son with profound autism shape family dynamics? Eileen Lamb, an autistic self-advocate and the mother of 3 children, including a boy with profound autism, is back on the show to share some updates about her family and advocacy work. Eileen is also a writer, photographer, podcast host, and the founder of the Autism Cafe, a blog with articles and resources for other parents of children on the spectrum. This episode is part 1 of my conversation with Eileen. We discuss her children's development, progress, and challenges, including her daughter's selective mutism, Eileen's 2 most recent books, And Yet Here You Are and Be the One, lessons in motherhood, personal growth and self-discovery, and advice Eileen would give to her younger self. In this episode, discover what's possible when you acknowledge those who can't speak for themselves. And now I bring you Eileen Lamb.
I'm Eileen Lamb. I'm a mother of 3 children. 2 of them are on the spectrum. My eldest, Charlie, is 12 now. He has profound autism. And my youngest son is Jude, and he has level 1 autism. I also have autism myself. I was diagnosed almost 10 years ago now. I'm a blogger and an author, podcast host, and I'm also the senior director of social media and marketing at Autism Speaks.
Wonderful to have you back on the show. I was looking at our first recording, and that was 5 years ago, over 5 years ago, actually. April 28th, 2020, and we were in the midst of the pandemic and quarantining, and it's kind of wild to think about those times now.
Right, yeah. It was different times. We never went out, and yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot has happened since then. And I wanted to give our listeners a bit of an update in what's going on in your life. So you mentioned Charlie is now 12. How's he doing?
It's up and down. I mean, there are a lot of difficult moments and some moments of hope. He started a new school, which I had to fight for children with severe disabilities. You know, they always try to get children into what they call the least restrictive environment. But for Charlie, least restrictive was not safe. So the less restrictive environment that was safe for him was a school with other children with severe disabilities for him. His pica, the urge of putting non-edible items in his mouth, at the worst of it, it was every 90 seconds. So you imagine that in the classroom with other kids and toys, and he would peel off the drywall to eat it. His pillowcase, there was nothing that was safe at the worst of it. And now we are, he still has it, but it's not every 90 seconds. It's, a few times a day. We still have to be very careful, but it's much more manageable. But that was a really difficult time. And at that time, that's when he was moved to that special needs school. And he's been there for a year and a half now, and he's doing better.
Great. Is he still receiving ABA services?
Yes, he still goes 2 days a week to ABA, and then he does 3 days of school, but he's aging out of it. My BCBA told me that, there's a good chance that next time we do the authorization with insurance, might not qualify. So it's a little stressful because I feel like he still benefits from it. They help with challenging behaviors, teaching him some independent skills, and he loves going there too. So I hope we can keep him there as long as possible, but it's looking a little scary right now. And, I looked around, and most places don't take older children.
Oh, interesting. Are there any kinds of programs available for adolescents, even if it's not ABA?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't found them yet. What we do right now, try to do. Charlie was able to get a waiver again because his behaviors were so severe. He bypassed the 20 plus year waiting list to get a waiver in Texas. And he's now getting help through the state, which is great, which means like I get funding to hire people to work with Charlie. But the problem is finding people who are willing to work with Charlie. And so far, we only have one person on our roster, and she's fantastic. And Charlie loves her so much. He has for her all the time on his iPad. Her name is Miss Katie.
Mm.
She does things with him, but it's only one person, and more people to help. So I would love to find an actual program to help him. Yeah, whether it's ABA or not.
Yeah. When you think about his future, what comes to mind?
A lot of unknown. Again, I'm taking it like one day at a time. I spend so much time thinking about what am I going to do? And it's changing all the time, like Charlie's behaviors, what he needs, what I need. And I honestly can't say what's going to happen in the future. The one thing I know for sure is that I feel very lucky that he's in that special needs school, and that's something he'll be able to stay at, a place he'll stay at until he's 21. After he turns 17, they transition kiddos to kind of like a community type program, and that's going to be so helpful. The big unknown, what happens after he's 21.
Right. That disability cliff that people talk about when services are just kind of pulled out from under you. Okay. And how's Jude?
Jude's doing so good. I mean, each year that goes by, he's doing like better and better. He's still going to a private school. That's what really helped him, was moving him from public school to a private school. Completely different needs from Charlie, and he's he doesn't even have an IEP. He's thriving. Still playing chess. He's now really into soccer, which is crazy to me because I think last time we met, I mean, always struggling with just like coordination, and now he's become quite the soccer player. He's just on elite team. He's gonna start next season, and yeah, he's doing good.
Yeah. And you've since then also given birth to a little girl, Billy. So she's, what is she, 3 or almost turning 3?
Almost 3, yeah.
Yeah. So what's the dynamic like between the 3 of them?
It's wild. So first of all, yeah, she's gonna be 3 in October. She has so much energy. I mean, just like all toddlers, I think. But she has that thing called the selective mutism, and she talks so much at home. Like, she doesn't have a language delay per se. Like, she's can have full conversation with you, full sentences, but then when she's at school, she's completely mute. Like, she doesn't say a single word. Like, it's not an exaggeration. She doesn't talk at all. And as soon as we're in the parking lot, she's speaking full sentences again. So it's like anxiety disorder, they think. She was evaluated for autism too, but she didn't meet the cutoff. She has some a few autism signs, but nothing that she doesn't fall in the autism category. But that was very interesting to me because, with Charlie and Jude, they had language delays. I mean, Charlie even more than Jude, obviously. But it was the same across all settings, right? Or with Billy, it's just at school where she doesn't talk. But she loves her brothers, especially Charlie. Oh my God. But she doesn't understand that Charlie doesn't want to play. She's young, and she always pulls him by the hand, asks him to sit down so she can play doctor with him. And, it's Charlie likes his space. So it's a little difficult to meet both of their needs, but, we do our best.
So what's his understanding of her? You said he wants his space. Is he also, he clearly loves her, right? Or what do you think?
In his own way, I think, when he doesn't start screaming when she pulls him to play, I think that's his way of being like, okay, I don't want to do that, but she's sweet, she's my sister, so I'll do it for a minute or two,
Yeah.
But he has his moments where it's too much for him, and he'll just start screaming or even hit her. So it's difficult.
And how does Jude respond in all of it?
He's in his own world too. Like he likes playing soccer, which actually is funny because, Billy looks up to both of them. So she's got some behaviors from Charlie, some good ones, some bad ones, some from Jude. And now she's starting like to kick the ball around because she sees Jude playing soccer all day. She says she wants to do homework now because she sees Jude do math, on a piece of paper. So, and Jude and Billy, they play with each other because, Jude actually like wants to play with her. Sometimes they play hide and seek and kick the ball back and forth. So it's a more siblings relationship in the way you would imagine it than with Charlie.
Got it. Hey, Rachel here. Are you enjoying this episode? Want to hear more valuable content from others you can relate with? Be sure to subscribe to this podcast so you can stay up to date on future episodes. And now back to the conversation. So what did you notice in yourself, or what have you learned about motherhood in going from having one child to two and now three?
You need a lot of patience. And I have a lot more patience than I give myself credit for, honestly, because again, I think the hardest part for me is how when they all need something different, right? Charlie wants space. Billy wants to be with Charlie. And it's finding that balance of, and most of the time, well, I'm going to go with what Charlie needs. And I don't know if that's fair, but it's something I'm always trying to manage, meeting all of my kiddos' needs, even when they're conflicting. Yeah, and how different all of my children have been. I'm not doing anything different parenting wise with them, and they all have three completely different personalities, and that's really interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you might not be doing anything differently, but you yourself, you're different. So that can kind of project in different ways also. Have you learned anything more about yourself years later after your diagnosis?
Not really. I mean, still the same, but I will tell you that I feel like I've been a lot kinder to myself. And also, I've been able to do things the past 5 years that I wouldn't have dreamed of. Just last time we met 5 years ago, I started public speaking, which to me was like never in a million years. If you had asked me 5 years ago, I would have done it. And 7 years ago, I wouldn't even do a podcast, which is, again, I'm just, putting myself out there. I still don't really like grocery shopping and I'm still getting my delivery, but, I have my moments where I can like walk in a grocery store for like one item. And before that would be like meltdown territory. And now I'm able to do it. I've learned to interact in social situations like a lot better. I mean, I feel like I've had so much growth considering I'm an adult, and often you will feel like, well, if you're an adult, like it's done, there is like not that much growth that can happen. But honestly, yeah. And I've been going to therapy and I'm not doing it all by myself, but I feel like I've learned a lot of coping mechanism, and I've pushed myself in a way that's been very fulfilling.
Yeah, well, that's great. Let's talk about your second book, Be the One, which was released in 2021. So in this one, you cover different themes of friendship, love, and self-discovery through a series of short texts. Now, could you share a passage with us, maybe something, you don't have to read the whole thing, but maybe just describe it and why it's important to you?
So that was a book I wrote. I mean, I started writing it in the middle of the pandemic, actually, right? And again, you're not going out, you don't have much to do, and so much time to think. And, it was at a time where I was like really struggling to maintain friendships and relationships and to interact with people around me, And some of it because of my autism, but also some of it because I'm human and it's difficult even for people who don't have autism. And the thing that helped me the most at that time was writing. And so I started like putting everything into words in hope of helping myself, but also other people. I wrote about overthinking a lot. That's something that I do a lot. Like I will overthink literally every little thing. I do like, and I posted that on my Instagram about overthinking, a text I wrote, and it got so much attention. Like it went viral. And I was like, wow, so people can actually like relate, and I feel like it's something so vulnerable that people don't really talk about it. And so when I put that out there, people were like, oh my God, I'm actually not alone, and I realized I was not alone. And so I just started like pouring my heart out on paper, pitched my book to my publisher who loved it. And yeah, it's actually my best-selling book out of the three is Be the One. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. And I know that on social media, you do have a way of making it easy for people to relate to you. So when you show this vulnerability, people, it's like they have permission also to feel that way.
Yeah, that's so important for me, because I think I spent so much time in my life feeling misunderstood and alone, not just with Charlie's diagnosis, but since I was a child, like I always felt like different and like I was the only person who was feeling what I was feeling. And I don't know if it's a French thing, but in France, like speaking about feelings and being vulnerable, like it's frowned upon, like going to therapy, like you only do that if there's something really wrong with you. Where I feel like in the US, it's not as taboo to go to therapy. Like, people talk about going to their therapist, it's even if you don't have any big issues, it's always going to be good, right? So that was really interesting to me when I came here almost 15 years ago now, but I started like being more comfortable sharing these things. And again, I feel like I'm more raw and vulnerable than a lot of people are. But that's only because it's helped me and I see it's helping other people. So it's like the more I help other people, the more I want to keep doing it. And then people like it helps me. And so it kind of like spiraled from there in a good way.
Oh, that's amazing. So tell us about your third book, And Yet Here You Are.
And that is totally a sequel from Be the One. So same sort of text and writing. I think we call it self prose is the style of the writing. What I love about it is that it's inspired by my own life and my own growth. But again, it's written in a relatable way, not in the first person. It's very easy to read because it's one page, one text. They're not linked. It's kind of like thoughts that are written in a beautiful way, I hope, and relatable way. But that book was more about going after your dreams, doing things that are difficult. Again, like vulnerability, anxiety, overthinking, relationships, and not being too hard on yourself. Timing. I feel like there's so much pressure in life to do certain things by a certain age, but just because you haven't reached your goals by 25, 30, 35 doesn't mean you can never reach them. I've reached goal at 35 that maybe, on paper, people expect you to reach at 15, like going to the grocery store, and that's okay. Like the timing shouldn't be so strict. So yeah, it's similar to Be the One in that aspect, relatable, self-prose poetry.
Amazing. And I like that it's, in a way, a book that people can just pick up and open and just receive what's there for them in that moment without having to follow in a sequence.
Yeah, and that was important for me too, because as a mom, as much as I love reading, it's difficult to find the time to, do a good stretch and get into a story now. So I appreciate those books where you can like open a page. It's okay if you haven't read, anything. You read a page or two and it still makes sense. And that's what the one and Yet Here You Are like.
Yeah, great. So I've also become a mother in the time that we've last spoken. My baby girl is just turned 7 months now. So I'm still like in the thick of it. But I'm wondering, now looking back, you have 3 kids, and what would you tell your younger self? Like maybe when Charlie was 7 months old. Now with, the wisdom that you have years later.
I would tell myself to enjoy those moments. I mean, even with Billy, I had that in mind, like this goes by so fast, like there are so many hard days, like the crying, you don't know how to make them feel better. They can communicate. And it's kind of like profound autism, right? But it goes by so fast. And, I wish I could go back in time sometimes just to live these moments once more. There is that quote I heard on social media that stuck with me. It's when you're having a hard time, like with your kids, and you're so overwhelmed, like picture yourself at 80 years old and you're all alone, your kids are grown, and you would give anything to go back to that one moment when, it was really overwhelming, but you had your kids, the house was dirty, but, you're always going to want to go back to that moment, even if at the time it feels overwhelming, it's precious.
Yeah, I love that. And it really does go fast. I mean, I think my husband and I were just talking about this. He thinks it's not really the time itself, because it feels like, 7 months has gone by now. But what I see is how much she's changed and how she's grown. And that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, where has the time gone? Because I wake up and she's heavier and her face is looking a bit different, so.
Yeah, especially in the first year, like changes are just so drastic.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in to Autism Knows No Borders. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and come back next Thursday for part 2 of my conversation with Eileen Lamb, where we discuss why the social model of disability might not work for people with profound autism, as well as tips for other self-advocates. Thanks for listening. Take care.